언젠가 내 하늘에도 별이 뜬다 한들 함께할이 없으면 무슨 의미가 있겠나. 난 이미 마음을 굳혔다. 설득당할 생각도 없고.
Xiao, the Southern Branch Director of the Section 1 Lu Association, the Lady of Iron, known throughout the city for her stalwart and professional attitude. There is nothing that will stop her from standing in her way to complete the mission. That is, until we see her in Library of Ruina. From having complete control of her emotions, to becoming a vengeful spirit, to recovering herself and awakening her ego, and farming many, and I do mean many, Library of Ruina players to their breaking point. Even though she was a small part of the game, she was remembered fondly. While many people know about her boss fight, they don't really know the character. And thus, today, that's what I want to elucidate. Today, I want to walk you through what we know of Xiao and why she is regarded as a great character. Why did Project Moon put so much thought into her ego? Why is Iron Lotus so fired? And why she will be showing up in Limbus Company sooner than we think, and not in the way you're expecting. Because today, we are talking about you know nothing about Xiao, the Lady of Iron. But before we get to breaking down the life story of everyone's favorite dragon wife, ladies and gentlemen, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it if you enjoyed it. And therefore, we're going to start Xiao's story where all stories start, at the beginning. And, well, sadly, we don't know too much about it. However, thanks to us being able to read Xiao and Lowell's key pages and one story point event, we can build a pretty good idea on Xiao's backstory. To begin with, where did she grow up? Backstreets or Nest? During the second reception of Liu Association 2, it is said that Lowell, for his 1-year anniversary with her, is going to gift Xiao a Nest migration ticket. Now, I don't know if Xiao was born in a different nest than Lowell, but usually, Nest migration tickets come from moving someone from the backstreets into a nest. If this is true, then Xiao would know that if she shows any weakness or place her faith in the wrong person, she could easily end up dead. Though, this is only a theory. What we do know is Xiao quickly moved up the ranks of the Lu Association and became the Southern Association 1 branch director before the age of 32. During this time, she quickly became known for being a cold person. A woman that would only face forward, completing her mission no matter how dire it became. Never shedding tears for her fallen colleagues. Never trying to improve the morale of her men. Only focusing on achieving victory. True victory when the opportunity presents itself. Xiao thought most of her problems could be solved this way. Shedding tears and showing concern for her allies would cause her to falter and have stirred uneasiness in them. Because what happens when your leader breaks down or doesn't know what to do? They panic. And in turn, their underlings panic, turning a winnable battle into a horrible disaster. During that time, more deaths are bound to happen until the leader is able to get their emotions back under control. And even then, it may be too late. To her credit, Xiao does care for her men. She may not show it on her face, but deep down, takes an emotional toll each time it happens. At times, she did find it unbearable to hold it in. These experiences did cause Xiao to realize an idea. If she was to remain how she was, regardless of how desperate the situation was, and not panic, constantly putting her mind on the mission first, less deaths will happen in the long run. The less colleagues under her command that die, the more relieved she would be. It does come at the cost of her men thinking that she is heartless, but deep down, it granted her some peace of mind. Putting it into action, she gained the nickname, the Lady of Iron. During her time as director, Xiao worked with Lowell, the newly appointed Section 2 director. Lowell was the direct opposite of Xiao. He cared for his colleagues and grieved for his fallen allies, which was curious to Xiao. She expected him to die very quickly due to his tenderness, but instead, he thrived. getting jealous that he was able to show concern, unlike her. Over time, they both worked on multi-division missions together, where they both disagreed on everything. From combat to personality, nothing would make you think they would be together. Over time, and multiple missions, Lowell and Xiao did grow curious about each other. They both wondered, what's this emotion that was gnawing inside of them? Not in a malicious or an envious way, but more of, if I understand this person and their way of thinking, perhaps they can help me be a better person. They didn't know when it happened, but they started to spend more time together outside of work, eventually getting married a year before current events, cherishing each other the best they knew how. Given their line of work, they did their best to not mix their personal life with it, promising each other that if one of them dies, the other will live on and not pursue revenge, finding something that was precious to only them in this rotten city. Though with all feelings and belongings, you don't know how much they mean to you until they're gone. Kicking us off to Library of Ruina, where the entire South Section Lu Corp was hired by V Corp to hunt down the crying children distortion and either capture it or kill it. Xiao and Lowell broke up into two groups. Xiao will lead her division to capture the crying children, and Lowell to investigate the library, the place they believe the distortion came from. Wanting to get the mission over with, Xiao's division went out and dispatched the crying children, supposedly achieving victory, until Agalia, the blue reverberation, intervened, stealing victory from the Lady of Iron. Xiao didn't take this lying down, striking that blue sicko, which, to her credit, takes a tremendous amount of courage, especially because he is a color and they are tired from the fight. During their little sparring session, the complete troll that is Argalia does what he does best, whisper sweet doubts into people, with the blue sicko saying he wants to fill the void left in his heart. He knows what he wants and is going to get it. Then, asking Xiao if she has filled her heart with a certain person. Somewhat referencing what she would do if Lowell was killed, planting a couple seeds of doubt before retreating. Afterwards, she finds out Lowell was killed by the library and received an invitation. Right now, Project Moon is setting up Xiao's story very similar to Philippe. Two people that barely showed any emotion when they are first introduced and are quickly thrust into emotionally devastating situations, with Xiao losing her husband and Philippe losing his crush and mentor. Mission's a complete failure and now must move on from it by being re-invited into the library. Surely, the same thing will happen again, right? Or will a different outcome occur? In the next chapter, we see Xiao being approached by Miris and Chun, her co-captains. And in it, we see a normal Xiao, which is somewhat odd. We should be expecting her breaking down and sobbing, but she isn't. After telling them the news of the Lu withdrawing from L Corp's nest, she is quitting her post, infuriating the both of them. This is not like her, the Lady of Iron disobeying orders, while telling them to continue with the Lu and not follow her. Eventually, she reveals that she received an invitation to the library, with Lowell's book being a reward. Chun presses Xiao for more information, which Xiao folds, revealing that she cried for the first time in her life. Trying to fill this void that is now opened, she vows to avenge Lowell and is willing to sacrifice herself to prove that there was meaning in her life. Because what good is it to look at stars if you don't have someone watching it with you? Also revealing that she doesn't have any plans after this, knowing full well that death is coming for her. Miris and Chun decide to follow Xiao to the library. Even though they never saw this side of Xiao, they were still determined to help her to the end, giving up their careers as fixers for the selfish wish of their own free will.
내가 지금 뭘 본 거지?
This says a lot about Xiao's leadership, and thankfully, her men do a lot to repay Xiao in her most vulnerable moment. Roland comments that the white nights and dark days did indeed make people more honest with themselves. Never did he think Xiao, of all people, would be blinded by love, setting up an ego or distortion possibility. Now, in Xiao's defense, she does all of this because Lowell died very suddenly when she thought he would be okay. He would get out of it like he would always would, but this is different. He didn't come back. He got turned into a book. Now, in your current state of shock, confusion, anger, and grief, you would want at least something to remember them by. Whether it be their favorite stuffed animal, photos, or their favorite item, Lowell's book would be the perfect item to at least satisfy Xiao in the moment, avenging him and possibly start refilling that sudden void in her heart. On top of that, she is breaking her promise to Lowell, so in the future I am expecting some drama with it. Entering the library, I do like how Mirrors brings up Xiao getting them new jobs if they survive and get kicked out of the Liu. It's a small plan at least, compared to no plan at all. On top of that, it's rather funny. What, are they going to open up a bakery and make steam buns? Upon entering, Angela is gobsmacked that Xiao even showed up. There is nothing to be gained from this endeavor. It's even pointless to throw their lives away for a very selfish goal. Even going so far as to say Xiao getting a new husband to replace her old one. Strange. Enraging Xiao even further. How could a machine understand what she is feeling? How could a machine understand why humans feel despair and the will to still rise up in hopes of taking back what they lost? Because to Xiao, even if it's another book to Angela, that book has a lot of meaning to her. Xiao isn't fazed by Angela, saying what she sees as despair, she sees as hope, both of which doesn't do anything or tell you what to do. However, they are two different words with two different meanings. If Xiao was in despair like Angela suggested, she would do nothing and just lie down and die or find someone else. However, Xiao came to face the jaws of death, the same jaws of death that murdered countless people that she cared for, hoping that with her resolve, that it will be conquered. After all, hope allows one to touch the untouchable, reach the unreachable, and see the invisible. Xiao, discount tarantula. Now we gotta add Rapper onto her new jobs. Before getting overwhelmed by the library, Mirrors and Xiao retreated back to the lobby. I swear, this is the 7th time it happened. Though, this one is more unusual than the rest. Mirrors drags Xiao away when Xiao was ready to die. The only time this happens. Hell, Roland comments it's normal for one person to run away in fear. But dragging someone with a death wish is totally different. When seen again, an enraged Xiao was starting to transform, developing scales and horns, desperate to continue the reception. Mirrors explains that Xiao is in no condition to fight. She is consumed by her emotions and needs to calm down, because all she's doing right now is swinging her sword like a toddler. Well, a rather strong toddler, but you get the picture. Attacking Mirrors, where he proceeds to no differ. Breaking down, Xiao admits she can't accept the library and Angela taking Lowell away from her. That it's her fault for forcing Mirrors, Chun, and Section 1 into a selfish request. That they would be victorious, but now she doesn't know. Paying the consequences of everyone else dying but her. Feeling guilty that she led everyone into a knowing slaughter, and here she is, running away. Maybe Angela was right, and she should have wallowed in despair and lived. Finally, she turned to Mirrors, asking, "What should I do?" Pause! This is the exact same situation Philippe had with Oswald. Philippe was overwhelmed with survivor's remorse, guilty that he sent people in to die for him in order to fulfill his selfish agenda, frustrated that nothing worked as planned. All the while, he is powerless to do anything against the library and Oswald, the big bad villains in his story. Showing us what happens when someone is pushed to their limits. Philippe was given two options, and, well, we saw what happened. He caved into his doubts and distorted. Now, we're in a similar situation, but there is one crucial difference that saves Xiao from being another Philippe. She had mirrors. Now, this is usually skipped, but I think if Mirrors wasn't here, Xiao would have distorted. Why? Cause one reason. He put his trust in her and reassures her. We saw what happened with Philippe. Oswald played with his emotions and twisted it to suit his and Pluto's ends. Even though Philippe could have resisted it, it was next to impossible considering the situation and the amount of deaths and trauma that happened to him in such a short time. He had no one to help him, to see that there was another path. Now back to Xiao. Mirrors offered a safe place for Xiao to vent and not be judged negatively. He reassures her that she doesn't have to do everything herself, telling Xiao that he and Lu Association 1 would have left if they wanted her power. They chose to follow Xiao to help her achieve her goal. After the many times they've worked together and Xiao saving them, they made their choice to follow her, not out of compulsion, but out of loyalty, believing that with their help, they could bring Xiao back to her senses. Because sometimes, what a person really needs to hear is that someone has their back, which all of us need to hear. Humans are social creatures that depend on each other when we are too invested in negativity. A small gesture of kindness can overcome the darkness. Which was all Xiao needed to hear, because misintrusive thoughts decided to show up a little after Xiao's beliefs were reaffirmed. We don't know what Carmen said, but we can have a pretty good idea. Carmen wanted Xiao to focus on herself and continue pursuing her selfish goals. Now, judging by the way the final dialogue goes, Carmen worded it vaguely. A selfish mind shouldn't be viewed negatively, but Xiao is also right in saying she needs to have other people around her in order to validate who she is. Because if she was alone, she would have strayed from her path a long time ago. A balance needs to be maintained, exactly the same as in real life. Shortly after that, and regaining her composure, Xiao's incomplete ego received an ego upgrade. With it, her body is now covered in scales and has cracked ancient Chinese armor on top of it. Apologizing to Mirrors for leading them astray, she will now get back on the path of victory. True victory. Even if she doesn't know where the path will lead, as long as someone cares for her and is with her, she will be their shield and do whatever in her power to overcome it. Which leads to her and Mirrors getting curb stomped by the library again. Losing Mirrors makes Xiao tense up. Alone, she questions her past actions. Whether she did all this for Lowell's book, wanting to conquer the library and avenge Section 2, or proving that she is a strong leader for her men. She will not know Mirrors' answer until she sees him again in death. Frozen in fear, until Carmen whispered sweet nothings into Xiao's ear again. Xiao uses her voice as encouragement, that she is on the right path, and reaffirms her belief, saying that without fear, there is no bravery. Without that, life has no reason to exist. Xiao will still fight for herself and for everyone around her, the living and the dead. If she doesn't, she believes that their sacrifice has been in vain. With the final conversation ending, a lone tree cannot form a forest on its own. Yes, but if Xiao gives up now, that lone tree will die, and a forest is never made. Declaring to Carmen,
たとえ一人でも夜は訪れてくる。そして明けない夜はない。一回の消える星ごときが昇りゆく太陽の光に勝つことができようか。覚悟しろ。今日都市の星が一つ沈むことになる。
unlocking her ego's true potential and is ready to take on the library and farm salty tears. During the transition, the song Iron Lotus plays, and the battlefield changes to a war-torn battle on top of the Great Wall of
China.
Everything that Xiao mentions in her speech is shown here, with her returning as a morning sun to refight the library before she burns out. Xiao viewing the wall and the gate in the background on the right as the library, and destroying it is her desire to conquer it. The last defenders are your units that are against her, and a second garrison she must go through. Not the most creative, but it gets the message across well. Let's talk about Iron Lotus first, before we cover Xiao and her new abilities, shall we? Iron Lotus is about Xiao's love, loss, and regret of not saying goodbye to Lowell before his untimely death. Before going into anything, I think the title name should be covered first. Why Lotus? We already know the iron part, so explaining that is pointless. I'm going to guess it's a Chinese lotus, cause you know, China. Also me realizing the dancing figure is on top of one. In Chinese culture, the lotus flower, Hua, is a powerful symbol of purity, enlightenment, rebirth, and spiritual growth. It is often associated with Buddhism, where it represents the awakening of the Buddha and the attainment of nirvana. The lotus' ability to bloom in pristine beauty despite emerging from muddy waters signifies the ability to overcome challenges and achieve enlightenment. Thank you, Google. All of this translated over to Xiao very well within the story, and I don't think I need to retell anything. It's all rather self-explanatory. Include iron in front of it, and it's now Xiao's journey of enlightenment. Time for the lyrics. I'm only summarizing the major points of each paragraph, or whatever it's called. I'm not a music expert, I'm not pretending to be. At the start of the song, Xiao is not confident with Mirror's dying. She is all alone with death all around her. She'd broken her promise to Lowell about giving up avenging him, but here she is, doing exactly that. Then, the next section proceeds to talk about Xiao's sadness of losing Lowell and pushing past it. Starting where the first chorus should be. Millie songs really don't have a chorus, but this is the closest to one that we get. In it, Xiao is the dragon of the Liu. She will fight against the enemies that will harm the Liu Association and her husband. Because if it wasn't for them, Xiao wouldn't have realized that she is a sincere person. With these memories, she goes on to easily decimating her enemies, thanks to her newfound ego. The statement, burning my memories, can also be viewed as her trying to maintain her ego. Based on what Gebura said, maintaining ego is very difficult and requires a lot of willpower. Since Xiao just awakened it, she probably is losing memories as she is fighting. The second part of the chorus is talking about herself as a flower of iron. A play on words of her nickname, the Lady of Iron, referencing her cold and pragmatic nature. In it, she mentions how she is unable to say how much she loved Lowell and the Section 1 Association. Instead of saying that, she chose to say nothing by chewing on the Huaming Tang, a hard plum candy in China. This candy sounds very similar to Hawao Mi, meaning no words. Moving on to the next paragraph, Xiao is talking about the library literally, with how Angela defeats and captures people. Xiao later compares it to the greed and freedom of the city, where the citizens don't have a lot of freedom due to them fulfilling mandatory obligations in order to survive. Any chance to get more freedom results in them having to take it from others. In Library of Ruina and the player's case, more deck building options becomes available, and in Angela's case, removing her machine body. On top of that, for deck building, there can only ever be one Object Day Art Day key page and combat page in the deck. These are the highest impact pages that make gameplay a whole lot easier, but having less of it means you don't have the ability to spam it. Anything of lower quality can easily be farmed and used, but won't have the same impact. After that, it talks about Xiao going on the warpath against the library, wanting to get through the invitation in order to get Lowell's book back. stating that she would gladly give up her life so she could have Lowell back and the Lu Association. The phrase, "stop leading me on," references to her interactions with everyone that antagonized her. Angela saying that this is pointless, Argalia saying Lowell is going to die soon, and Joy not being fulfilled, and finally Carmen antagonizing Xiao with intrusive thoughts. Xiao wants to follow her own path to victory, not anyone else's. In the next paragraph, Xiao talks about how her association wants to recall her, preventing her from getting Lowell's book back. Even though she is a high-class fixer, she must obey her higher authorities, explaining why she quit. The final grouping of words before the chorus was her admitting that Lowell and her group made her realize that she was a good person. Without them, she would never have realized it. Thanking them for this happiness and love, she eats the last white rabbit, Netang, another Chinese candy that expresses love in the past. Even then, she does feel pain because her actions played a part in them dying. Finally, the supposed chorus comes back in, but is shortened, referencing that all she has left now is a shell of iron. She is critically injured and is ready to die, feeling only one regret, of not saying how important everyone was to her. Instead of saying it, she sucks on her final candy, the Mayan Tang, or malt syrup, referencing her still holding back her feelings, even though she has come to accept them. Currently, this is Millie's most popular song based on polls, and Millie's song rating since making this video. Now after our spiritual journey of Iron Lotus, let's go back to Xiao and the gameplay feature. The 9 Children of the Dragon. Xiao honors ancient China so much that she embodies it with the 9 Children of the Dragon mythology. Each one of these dragons have their own preferences and personalities, which is translated over to Xiao through her passive, combat cards, and ego. I'll be starting off with each of the dragon in the Shangyang Anthology Pantheon, and then how Project Moon translated it over to Xiao. This will be less about gameplay and more on the translation of why it is. Before getting into that, let's cover something all of them share: reverse scales. In Chinese mythology, a dragon has a certain weak spot on its body. When it is hit, the dragon will take massive damage and enter a berserk state. Translating that over to Xiao is rather easy as a combat page. If Xiao loses the marked clash, she takes 70 stagger damage, but in return, she gains 4 dice power the following scene, which, if timed wrong, becomes a negative win rate fight. Before going into this, I'm letting you know, I'm not 102% Chinese with a 2% margin of error, so there will be some inaccuracies. I did try my best to fact check as much as possible, but, sometimes it happens. Though for the glory of the great Xi Jinping, I will try my best to pronounce it properly and restore my honor. Starting off with the most boring one of Xiao's, Bia is a guardian-like figure that symbolizes law and order. This dragon is found on prison gates and courtroom decorations. For Xiao in this case, it is her passive attained at emotion level 2, negating all fire damage dealt to her and reduces any status element that she receives in half, rounded down. This is the scales that she has manifested when the effect is activated, playing off her Lady of Iron nickname. The scales encase Xiao in armor, to protect herself from the effects of her flaming attacks and reducing her hindrance to enemy effects. While physically it applies to itself, it also affects her philosophy of the city. She works as a fixer to maintain the laws of the city and maintain its order. Even if it's a cruel place, she has come to accept it.
Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you.
With the most boring one out of the way, it's time for Xiao's more flashier cards. Starting off with one of the worst counter dice only, Shengchu. This dragon bears resemblance to a mollusk, which are commonly placed on doors and gates. The dragon has a preference for keeping items tightly shut and protected. For Xiao, Shengshu is a combat page with counter dice only. with a strong lead block die to shield herself, and a slashing die to deal with anyone that gets through the defense. With counter dice, if nobody attacks her, she will not initiate it, since she is safe from one-sided attacks. Xiao uses it as a metaphorical shell to shield her feelings of love for her husband and her subordinates. She never wants to lose it, and if anyone tries, well, they'll be dealing with a wall of iron. When the going gets tough, Xiao will strengthen herself with BC. BC bears resemblance to a tortoise. This dragon can be found on stone tablets and the deceased. It is known for its strength and love of bearing heavy weights, in this case, graves. In-game, Xiao uses BC as a 2-cost combat page that grants her 2 strength the next scene if the slashing attack connects, followed by a defensive die. Quite literally a 1-to-1 translation for the strength part, because strength makes the world go around in Library of Ruina. For Xiao, it's her remembering her love of Lowell to gather strength for the fight, making sure their sacrifice is not in vain and that victory will come from it. Even though Xiao has Boss C at her side, she also brings additional protection with Qiwen. Qiwen bears resemblance to that of a fish-like creature. It has a deep knowledge of water and wind, and its image is often found on rooftops and corners of buildings, providing protection against evil spirits, in this case, providing protection against fire, water, and wind. Xiao's Qiwen comes from a 3-cost combat page. When it is used, it will reduce burn damage that is taken this turn by 10, and if she is already on fire when it is used, she will also restore 4 HP and gain 2 protection next scene. Her offensive combat dice on this page will inflict burn to herself and the enemy if it connects. I swear this is a Chinese version of Earth, Wind, and Fire Band. Just because you change one of the elements doesn't mean I can see the reference. Anywho, Xiao gets some usage of the fire protection before she gets to emotion level 2, and then it is useless afterwards. However, for Xiao, it's more so the protection effect and the healing. Because after all, what do you do to combat fire? You throw water onto it, protecting the building from taking further damage, and somewhat healing it from the physical damage. This allows Xiao time to try and heal herself and her love-stricken heart. However, even though she is trying to heal herself, she still struggles to control it, explaining why her attacks inflict burn to herself and her enemies. It is somewhat confusing in the current game, but Xiao used to have another passive, stating that if she was afflicted with burn, she gains 2 strength next scene. Okay, PM, giving 4 strength casually for easy setup and then removing it doesn't sound like you, with all the broken stuff you still left in the game. In their defense, Project Moon will use Beyond to deal with these allegations. Beyond bears resemblance to that of a tiger with long sharp fangs and great visual power. It likes justice and has the talent to argue for fairness when there is injustice. Beyond is primarily placed on the sides of prisons and main halls of government buildings and courtrooms. Initially, the most baffling of the translations for Xiao. Xiao uses Beyond as a defensive combat page that draws 2 cards and only has block dice. In the art, she does have her guan drawn and pointing it at someone, like she is challenging them, which normally should be viewed as aggressive. Yeah, this is all wrong. It should be all offensive dice.
Objection!
That doesn't make sense, you foolish fool. The government set up laws to help the people or maintain order. In cases of injustice, it will be debated upon in court or an official government institution, using evidence and logic to see if there was a problem. It shouldn't be done with random individuals with a gun in their hand deciding what is right and wrong. Making Xiao use block dice shows her stopping the situation and preventing future harm from happening. Xiao drawing 2 cards helps her to be prepared for the next time a case like this should happen. On top of that, she is righting the wrongs of the library, directly challenging it by her sheer determination to get back the ones who are important to her. A perfect alibi for the perfect reasoning. This video isn't done yet, so...
Overruled!
Thank you, oh great Lang. I wasn't expecting Xiao to have studied law now. Thank you for saving my video. Now, it's time for her Object de Artes. Starting off with Jindi. Has a resemblance to that of a lion. It often appears as an ornamental part of the incense burner, always maintaining the smoke and the flames of it. For Xiao, it's a 4-cost singular attack that shoots a lion from her guan to hit her enemies really hard. Upon connecting, it'll spread 2 burn to all enemies on the battlefield. What do you expect? It's more fire. I guess Xiao wants to go out in a blaze of glory. Time to wrap this up with her ego cards. Starting off with her passive and attack, Pu Lao. Pu Lao was known for its loud roar. To help amplify the sound of it, he was placed on the handles of bells, so everyone can hear him. For Xiao, this is a 2-parter. In the actual boss fight, where it is the stronger version, it is a passive. Pu Lao will be used every odd scene, inflicting power null to everyone, including herself. That's the roaring and the screen shaking when it happens. That big giant X is there to remind you no power change at all is happening. Even though it is very powerful, she is unable to mitigate the effects on herself. When the player gets access to Xiao's key page, it's a 2-cost personal ego mass attack that inflicts feeble and disarm to only her enemies. This shows if Xiao had enough time to control her ego, or was in a more controlled state, the effects would only be on her enemies and not herself. However, let's not forget that Angela gives out key pages that are weaker than the original copy, especially ego users. Main thing being, is it's not an instant transformation. Based on what Gebura said, she used to be able to transform immediately. Now in the library, she needs to wait until a certain point in order to activate it. When Xiao makes an appearance in Limbus Company, I'm expecting Pu Lao to either be a controlled passive that will only affect her enemies, or it will be a mass attack with a much stronger debuff. Obviously, Xiao is fueled by vengeance and needs to let it out for the rest of the library and the city to hear. Now it's time for the dragon that specializes in combat and is seen a lot throughout the Liu, Yazi. Yazi resembles a jackal with a weapon of some sort always within its mouth. Obviously, being the best fighter of the dragons, he displays courage and ferocity. For Xiao, this is her 4-cost ego mass attack individual. When used, Xiao will slam the ground twice with her guan, erupting fire to sear her enemies. If it hits a target, Yazi will provide Xiao with additional strength and endurance next scene. Lots to unpack with this one, because there's a lot of imagery. Starting off with her jacket. You see the dragon everywhere on it, and on top of that, Xiao owns a fur one at that, showing off her higher rank and being a stronger fighter compared to everyone else in the Liu. Xiao also brings 2 or 3 weapons with her, a longsword, a guan, and a long guan. In cutscenes, only the long guan will have Yazi's dragon appearance on the blade, but in battle, the regular guan will have the sprite for it. I have no clue if Ego did this and upgraded her guan, somehow found it from low wells, or it manifested along with the armor, or Project Moon being lazy. When performing the attack, it looks very similar to her giving a war cry. We saw Xiao throughout the story. She always goes in first and asks questions later, which also came up during the Crying Children fight, by leading her men to victory. During that, she was not afraid to start a fight with Agalia, and need I remind you, Xiao is not a color, which is a huge disadvantage for her, but she still fought him anyways. Takes real guts to pull that move off, which is the same when she was invited to the library. She was ready to destroy the library even though it was a powerful threat and would kill her. In the library, Xiao had a vastly different fighting style compared to the rest of the faction. Compared to the Lu's calm, cool, and collected, Xiao was more brutal, more raw, more emotional compared to everyone else, trying to inflict as much damage as possible with no regards for defense, using her emotions to fuel her strikes. In doing this, she embodies Yazi's will the most, compared to all of the other dragon children. Finally, there is Tao Tie. one of the 4 Chinese animals of calamity. Tao Te is a zoomorphic character that is known for its insatiable appetite. Representing greed and overindulgence in its purest form, typically Tao Te will be put on cauldron lids because overeating is the easiest to visualize. Even though he was evil, China used Tao Te for good as well. He was used as a protective symbol and would ward off evil spirits due to its frightening appearance. For Xiao, she uses Tao Te as a 5-cost summation mass attack that sends Tao Te flying into the sky and crashing it straight down, eating all of Xiao's enemies in its path. Literally, Xiao summons a freaking dragon to eat everyone in her way, while destroying the library, who is a monster of incomprehensible greed and gluttony. Which, she isn't wrong considering the library is snatching up people like Pokemon for their own devices and reusing them in battle against their future guests. After a tough battle, you have slain the Lady of Iron. Before doing so, or if you've been on the receiving end too much, she will say a lot of different quotes, majority of which will have to do with philosophy or Chinese teachings. Her victory cry of, "You aided me while I was blind," like a chance drifting log that saved a sightless turtle. In doing so, she is thanking Miras, June, Lowell, and Section 1, saving her from herself. Even when you know how to swim, sometimes you do need help from others in order to succeed. Her death quote is literally the end of Iron Lotus, so no comment. Then finally, her on-kill quotes, all of which are her reaffirming herself, which, yeah, makes sense. She's more focused on maintaining the ego and letting that battle for her. Now, after all that, I think that covers all of Xiao.
Limbus Company!
For the future of Xiao, Lowell, and their subordinates. Sounds weird, but everyone at the end of library was released back into the city. So, pseudo-death, cause Project Moon needs to hype up people for Limbus Company. I'm expecting them to show up very soon, truth be told. Probably in Canto 8, due to it being Hong Lu's. Now why him? Simple. He is very Chinese inspired. Hong Lu's canto is based on Chinese origins, and will be playing a part in the telling of the canto. Since Liu is also Chinese, there's kinda no reason not to include them, especially with more Liu IDs being released.
Coincidence? I think not!
Now, for what purpose they will play, I don't know. A lot of people think that Xiao and Lowell will be antagonists, cause they were the boss fight from last game, but I don't think so. Project Moon already told their story in library, and if they do it again, that would cheapen Hong Lu's character arc and storytelling. I mean, the antagonist could buy them out for protection, but come on. I also doubt Project Moon will have Xiao and Lowell be support characters to the group, cause that's like weird cause they're not fighting. So, what does that leave us off? Just fan service? No, there is one more option. Playing them. You're telling me you guys wouldn't be hyped as hell to see the crew,
I call him the crew, by the way.
and you get to play them for a couple chapters while Limbus is recovering or doing something else. I know it's a stretch, but it would be cool as hell if Project Moon could pull it off well. Now, what will happen to Xiao? She quit Liu, so it can go one of two ways. The first one being, Liu Association takes Xiao back as the director of South Section 1. Pretty much, she and her subordinates get their job back. Xiao will still be that cold and mission-focused person, but she will be more willing to say her feelings when there is downtime.
Boring!
Now for the other option, and the one I would like to see. Xiao and Lowell doing something else similar to that of Molar Office, like making sweet buns, or Xiao becoming a rapper with those sick lyrics she dropped in library. Plus, having the subordinates there would be a fun dynamic, instead of them being uptight all the time. Seriously, wouldn't you want to see them serving up the sinners in all the Liu IDs? It would be fire. Okay, jokes aside, what about Xiao's combat power with ego? Well, it's probably been about 2 years, so she must have had plenty of time to get used to it. I suspect it will be the same way as Callie's control of it. She is able to access her final form immediately and not have to go through the intermediate stages of it. Got to remember, the copy that we got in library was a newly realized ego, and Angela admitted that she struggled to control it, which is why Xiao had to go through stages of it. Now, I do think Xiao can access those intermediate stages if she needs to. It doesn't make sense to go all out on every single fight if you don't have to. While her full form seems to eat up a lot of energy, judging by the lyrics of Iron Lotus, so she will want to save it for the most desperate of situations. Situations that were similar to Library, and her losing a loved one. Outside of that, fancier moves and flashier animations. So yay! It's more likely that Xiao will be saved for a later canto, but probably Lowell in Section 2 will show up and have some time in the spotlight. We do need to see more dynamics between Lowell, May, and Cecil, and support that May is better than Cecil campaign. With that, you now know everything about Xiao and are patiently waiting for her triumphant return in Limbus Company. One day, you'll be able to play as her and sing Iron Lotus from the top of your lungs while burning everyone into crispy bits. Hope this video has helped you better understand the amazing character that is Xiao. With that, I'm Fox's Holo, and hope to see you in the next one.